Yo, what's up? My name is RetroPat, and welcome back for another in-depth game review. This one's a bit of a guilty pleasure for me, but it meant a lot to me at a certain time in my life, and I hope that some of you can at least relate to that, even if you have no experience with today's game. If you find yourself enjoying today's video, make sure to leave a like on it to let me know. It's seriously the most powerful thing you can do to impact the YouTubers you enjoy. Also, subscribe if you like this kind of content and want to see more. I plan for this style of video to be the direction in which I move for RetroPat. So I hope you like it. I also plan to be starting a Patreon only for those who want to go above and beyond and get properly thanked in each video for allowing me to even have the time to make these. And boy, do these take time. But enough preamble, enjoy. There was a time in my life where I didn't have access to stable Wi-Fi or a computer at home. But thankfully, I did have an iPhone 5S, which being the absolute beast of a machine that it was, almost lasted me 10 years without a single crack until I walked it into a pool. But for a brief period in my life, with the power of this phone, I was able to play a few video games. Specifically, I played a lot of Toram Online, a mobile-only MMO RPG. Well, it was mobile-only at the time, but in 2021, the game was added to Steam and was able to be played on PC with keyboard and mouse. A mobile MMO getting transferred to Steam, a serious platform for serious gamers. No shot that does well, but to my surprise, Toram Online boasts mostly positive reviews with over 4,000 ratings on the platform. How is it possible that a mobile-only MMO could resonate so well with a more hardcore gamer base? Maybe, just maybe, Toram Online is just a fantastic MMO that just happened to be locked on a mobile format. I'm here today to go back and play Toram Online to test that theory. Jumping into the game, the character creator is quite simple, and the music is honestly so unbelievably generic that it doesn't even invoke any nostalgia for me. And I know that I just said the character creator is simple, and it's boasting like 6 options for most things, except for hair. There's like 60 base hair options, 70 secondary hair options, which affect the back of the head, and then also like 70 different ponytails and other hair extensions, making for a grand total of like a billion possibilities. I'm not doing that math. I failed Algebra 1 twice, okay? Get off my back. Finally, we get to the classes, which I do remember loving the Knuckler, and then remembering how powerful my staff/mage teammates were. This game really values, or at least valued, AoE combat in the past, so the mage ends up being fantastic, even though it says it's a hard difficulty class. I remember it being pretty playable and easily learnable. Once again, a lot of what I'm saying so far is based off of my memory, so maybe everything is different and it's much more complicated at this point. I remember trying the bow class as well, and not ever putting enough time into it to truly learn. The sword class I just have no interest in. I'm sorry to the classic WoW warriors, it's just not my cup of tea. The halberd and katana class are new from my perspective, and I'm interested in trying both of them at some point. Anyways, the class is an easy choice for me. I'm gonna rock the Knuckler, a well-rounded class with cool as fuck weapon styles and good enough AoE to solo farm, good enough single target damage to do whatever bosses may exist, and I'm sure with the power of these big dumb fists, I'll be able to take care of whatever comes my way. Attempting to jump into the tutorial lands me in a loading screen that lasts 3 minutes and 15 seconds. I know this game always had this problem since it would always download new updates during these screens, but this was pretty intense. I thought this would be a mobile-only thing, so to see this problem persist on PC is unfortunate. It wouldn't surprise me if somewhere around 50% of new players just shut down the game middle of the loading screen and just thought it wasn't worth it. I remember this game's tutorial quite well since I ran through it multiple times to play the different classes. I remember that if you actually do the full tutorial instead of skipping it, you'll be given a large amount of important potions. This ambiguous beast girl comes up and flirts with us right before training us. Seems like an abuse of power to me. I'm gonna have to report her to HR. And then I get the beautiful sentence on my screen, go talk to these guys and they'll give you free items. Being able to play this game with WASD movement and spacebar for jump is so crazy and allows you to do some wacky movement, but it feels super natural and intuitive. I talk to a couple of guys, read absolutely nothing they say, and get hundreds of free potions. Then I go admire a sleepy boy. We can choose to learn either from the Beast Girl or a big burly soldier man. I flip a coin and get the Beast Girl. Alrighty, combat tutorial time. There's a basic attack and I have access to one skill that does more damage and seems to flinch, which is a nice effect for a melee combat attacker at close range. I always really love the loot system in this game, where you get a ton of resource drops and it's in this beautiful little chest visual. It really screams classic old MMORPG to me, something like EverQuest or Guild Wars, even though I can't explain properly why that's the case. After defeating a few little acorn type fellas, we have a big beastie boss battle tutorial. There's a little intro into the fight showing the boss's name and the level alongside me and my parties. Once again, just another little effect that I think of when I imagine a classic MMO. The beast is dead in a few smashes, and I make sure to use my ability whenever I have the mana. They teach me that boss battles are usually groups of 4 people, and the beast girl realizes the training camp is in trouble. We rush back to the camp to tragically find an insanely high level and colorful dragon obliterating the base. And this does 2 important things. Number 1, it teaches us about running away from a fight and when to run. Number 2, it gives us a high level goal to work towards over the course of our journey. Setting a long-term goal, having something always lingering in the background, keeps us playing in a healthy way. We manage to escape and I get escorted over to the starting town, which does strike some huge nostalgia for me. They do a great job at doing a little aerial overview of the city, and I have to remind you, this is a mobile MMO. This city looks incredible, and having the ability to show it on such phenomenal scale on mobile devices over 10 years ago is very impressive. Then we see the first red flag of the game and showing of its mobile lineage. A stamp card where you get rewarded for logging in every single day. You see, mobile games often use these with heavy microtransactions as a way to build habit and just to get players to unconsciously open the game every day. If they can get you to open a game every day for a week straight, it builds that habit and there's a solid chance you'll continue that process, largely increasing your chance of eventually spending money. Red flag doesn't equate to bad though, it's just a reason for concern. It could be bad or it could be fine. More tutorial is given about quest markers, and I'm given a reason to run around and get familiar with all of the shop locations in the game. There's a general shop, a blacksmith, a synthesist, a library, etc. Getting rewarded for learning the main city layout makes us pay more attention and care more. I also really like the rewards for things like this being potions, because that kind of gives the reward the ability for us to go grind and the ability to make progress, but it isn't just straight up progress. Or overly abundantly increasing our progress with something like XP lamps or XP modifiers would. I am almost never a fan of flooding new players with XP bonuses to allow them to skip the leveling process. It shows weak gameplay and that you don't trust your systems, as well as providing the new player with a false framework for how leveling should be and how long it should take. Black Desert Online was one of the biggest offenders of this for me personally, so much so that I would choose to never pop any of the XP charms, but they still flooded my inventory with them so much that I ended up being turned off from the entire experience and stopped playing after around 10 hours, even though that game had some of the best MMO combat that I've ever touched. Toram's main town, Sofia City, is very small considering everything, but it really just adds to its charm in my opinion. It's a fantastic beginner city, and the limited size lets you constantly run into other players, making the game feel vibrant and alive. I find a hidden chest that I can't loot yet unfortunately, a hidden underground area that I can't go in yet, and I spot an E-Dater couple and ruin a small date. The game seems to really want me to do the first couple main quests before rewarding exploration, so let's just head into the blacksmith. Now, some might consider this a bare minimum touch, but I really like how you can see the character with their specific armor equipped during the cutscene. Seeing the big knucklers on my character's back is neat to me. They're just sick weapons. But I do think it's genuinely important. Cutscenes can be a way to show off the kind of value and triumphs that you've created on your RPG character, which is all around grinding and progressing and getting stronger and stronger. When RPGs will have cutscenes and storyline parts where you don't even see your exact main character that you've put all your time into, I think it's really cheapening of that effect. Let's meet some real storyline characters. Balft and Triel. These guys are just genuinely annoying, and from this point forward, I'm just gonna ignore everything that even resembles a storyline and just click monsters. Time to click a boss monster. But not only do we have to click, we have to dodge the little red skill shot attacks from him. All very easy to do, of course, but keep in mind, this operating as a tutorial for a mechanical boss fight on a mobile MMO from 10 years ago, I think it's legitimately good. Without that reference, to be fair, if I was just judging this as a PC MMO that came out today, I would consider this boss fight monstrously mediocre, so take that however you want to. But for now, I turn my brain off and follow Big Blue Arrow on screen and just go along with it all. Some of my gear has little empty gem slots in it, and I get a quick Krista tutorial from an herb lady. These are basically just like gems from any dungeon crawler ever, things like Diablo, Path of Exile, Fate, etc. There is a cute little interaction here where the elf girl pays us a reward, and the guy gets mad at her, telling her it's too much money and she's too generous, and she just kind of shushes him. We get our first currency in Toram, 100 spina. But then we get some really goofy guys wobbling in. Zero voice acting here, by the way. No shot you should waste the space on a mobile game on high quality voice acting, to be fair. And now it's time to open up the achievements list. I remember constantly checking this because the amount of great items you can get from this are so nice. And this is where I realize this game does give you 10% bonuses of XP for the day, which is meant to make you feel like you need to play. Limited time XP bonuses like this, offloaded to the player at the very beginning, are meant to make you stress out on missing out. It's to create that FOMO effect, that fear of missing out, and encourage you to play a lot more your first day of playing the game, whether you're even enjoying it or not. I do love this game, and I have a lot of nostalgia for this game, but I have to be honest, it might be bad. I'm noticing a lot of mobile trends here, which send a lot of red flags to my brain. But I don't want to speak too soon. I'd really like to get to that classic AoE farming section that I recall. That was peak Toram Online gameplay to me. For now, it's on to some mission in a quarry type area, and I load up my stats page for the first time just to dump everything into agility because it's super good for my class. Not much creativity there, but then I open up my skills page and dump some points into those, spending a little bit of time figuring out how to properly add stuff to my hotbar, which is a surprisingly complex system and well put together. I really like the keybinds they chose as well. You have keybinds 1 through 8, which at least is better than most games. I personally stopped keybinding stuff at the 6 number key because that's where I stopped being able to comfortably reach over to that key in an instant moment during any game. And I have pretty big hands, so when games are binding shit over to the 9 and 0 key, it really just makes me wonder. But they automatically bind keys 1 through 8 and also Alt plus 1 through 8, which I love because that's similar to what I would do in World of Warcraft Classic. When I would world PvP as an engineering gnome warlock, I would need like 58 keybinds unironically. So I'd end up binding everything to like Shift plus all number combinations, Control plus 1 through 6, Alt plus 1 through 6, and then you repeat to stuff like Shift Control plus 1 through 6, and it just gets really silly. And then finally, Toram also auto-binds Q and E, so whoever thought about making this game a PC port, I really applaud you, because the systems were really thought about for the actual MMO player's experience, and not just tossing it over as scrappily as possible. Anyways, I chill with this floating golden rat for a little bit and contemplate while I write this script, and collect more achievement rewards I've somehow achieved by just sitting here doing nothing. I'm also level 12, which seems wildly high for any long-term level progression, but we'll see if it monstrously slows down or something. I spam my basic attack and single ability for a minute and a half just while looking for a new YouTube video to put on in the background while I play Toram Online, and before I can even decide on a video, I get another level up. Well, actually, I got 2 level ups and I didn't even notice. How does that happen? The level up audio cue is definitely way too lackluster. Maybe it's just due to the XP bonuses I have active, but the pace seems silly for sure. I don't even know what the max level is in Toram Online, or how the scaling works, so maybe being level 12 or whatever it is by now doesn't really matter. Okay, to be fair, I did just Google it, and the level cap for Toram Online is 265. Not what I was expecting, but I'm honestly so happy to hear that. We've got longevity, boys. During this 2 minutes of research, I do hit level 16, and now I think I'm ready for the Golem boss upcoming. I find myself constantly claiming achievement rewards, upgrading skills, stats, etc. The progress is non-stop, which isn't a bad thing when earned, but it does mostly just feel like cheesy, unearned, mobile game type progress at the moment. I head into the next area and continue my hunt for the Golem boss. I finally reach him and wow, this is definitely a huge step up. Way more cinematic elements, fun music, and fighting alongside my NPCs to make it feel more intense and like a partied fight. With the Golem defeated, my next quest is to go see the Toram government. What are the odds this goes well? Oh, okay, I do remember this now, to be fair. The Toram government is essentially just a princess that ominously walks around her garden asking you to do fetch quests to bring peace to the world or something. Okay, but to be fair, I'm now getting excited and getting that nostalgic pump back into me. I'm about to wander into the Salt Plains. Insane name, I know, but a big green open field never looked so cool, I promise. I kill some small guys, then some big guys, then some plant guys, and some lizard guys. The monster variety and uniqueness of design is quite strong in Toram. If anything, it's probably some of the best, and I don't know why I haven't been talking about it in more detail up till this point. But maybe as we get further in and I unlock more zones and more mid-level monsters, I'll have more monsters to rant and rave about. I'm hyper over-leveled at this point for all of these fetch quests, and I do not remember it being like this 10 years ago. These fights were slogs, even with a couple of potions popped. Or maybe I was just a drooler, it could be a mixture. The game does super smoothly allow you to move and make your way through the zones while checking quest logs, social lists, etc. Enabling multitasking in an MMO is super important, even on a mobile MMO. I remember dying a ton to this volcano-esque location with the wolves, but now I'm like 7 levels above everything. Making my way further down the ashy path, I do find some higher level monsters and do a little bit of grinding, and then run into a boss that took me a ton of grinding and strategizing to beat as a kid. I remember specifically convincing my little brother to download and play Toram Online just to team up with me to help me beat this big crystal monster. I'm currently level 20, and the recommended level for this boss is 21. So I don't know if that means with a party or solo, and this is also my first time that I notice a difficulty bar for a boss, which is exciting. That means that you can redo this content in the future. I'm going to go ahead and just try to attempt this boss. I take it slow and steady, clearing out 3 big crystals that all have different effects and weaken me in different ways. The slowing one seems the most annoying, so I'm going to focus that one first. But once the crystals are taken out, they do seem to be dead for good. So easily worth taking care of them first and getting that out of the way. While I'm doing this, the crystal is throwing out many different styles of skill shots that I have to dodge in different ways, with the Rocky-esque music cheering me on. I start attacking the crystal and also have to switch aggro to any mushroom men spawned in so I don't take too much damage. Slowly and steadily using my bashes when I have the double MP bar, which allows me to do upwards of almost 1000 damage in one shot, which feels so satisfying yet balanced for the 2 out of 3 of my total mana points. This was legit exhilarating. It showed me what this game could offer. I'm genuinely amazed, and that spark is back. I actually enjoyed this boss fight so much that I did another run just for fun and extra loot/XP. That's true joy for a fight. I also noticed that it shows the time it took me to beat that boss, which opens up a whole new reason for competition in speedruns. But before I get distracted again, let's head back to the lady in her garden and tell her what I've accomplished. This is where I also test fast travel for the very first time. I don't know if this didn't exist back when I initially played, or if I just never used it. And I wonder why this game always felt like such a grind. The fast travel screen also showed that certain fast travel locations will cost spinna, which I love the idea of. Adding a gold sink for fast traveling helps the economy. I really want to progress to some new skills soon, and apparently I do need to go buy them first before I can use them. I talked to the garden lady, complete a quest, start a new quest, and need to talk to the storekeep for some reason. I guess the storekeep has more wisdom than the lady who never leaves her garden. I do a little bit of people watching, and this girl wouldn't stop spinning. I ran into a stereotypical samurai e-boy and a pink magical e-girl. And then I realize I need to leave as quick as my legs can make me move. Next is a big quest towards some temple, and I'm gonna go rest for now and save that for tomorrow. You guys won't really notice that though, since this is all edited. Alrighty, good morning. Off to the temple we go. I check out the map, zoom out to get some scale, and I'm going to say that cursed phrase yet again. For a mobile MMO, this is quite good. But these are all just single zones, which are probably like 10 to 20% as big as a single classic WoW zone, which is a game that came out in 2004. Now, vanilla WoW had 40 zones. Toram Online seems to be packing 134 zones, but the wiki isn't exactly clear. So if we take the middle ground of 15% of the size of each zone, it means that 6.66 Toram zones equate to the size of one World of Warcraft Classic zone. So if you then take the total number of zones that Toram has, 134 divided by 6.6 means that Toram is as big as 20.12 vanilla WoW zones, or half as big as Classic WoW. Honestly, in my opinion, that's just legitimately not bad for any type of MMO, let alone the cursed mobile MMO. But enough math. Blech. Let's run across the world to this temple place. I feel like I remember AoE training at this place a ton. Like, I think I grinded here more than any area of the entire game, at least if it's the temple I'm thinking of, which I really hope it is. And that's when I realized, oh my god, you can sprint. I had no idea. 5 hours of game time at this point, by the way, and I never sprinted. I swear that I tried to press shift earlier to do this and it just didn't work, but maybe you can't sprint in towns? Either way, now I can go zoomies. The monster variety really continues to impress me, and this temple is seriously visually impressive, and great lighting effects are streaming in from the high ceilings. And finally, I run across the room. This very room filled with level 20 goblins is where I lived in Toram Online. The amount of friends I made here, the amount of people that always camped here, it was something special. I remember that this was the area that was super good for farming metals to sell to other players, and it's empty here today. I'm not sure if that's because it's just no longer a good farm or is no longer powerful, or if there's just not enough lower to mid-level players left that need to farm here. This really sparks me with old MMO joy, and I really just can't express how I wish everybody could feel this type of feeling. And I can't help myself from just sitting here and farming for a little bit. After this quest, I might honestly come back here and farm for many hours. I casually hit level 25 after some short grinding on the metal thieving goblins, but I really do wish I had some sort of AoE attack to farm here. I really need to go buy some new skills ASAP. Thankfully, I'm able to level up fast enough to never need to heal, since it gives you full HP upon leveling up. I farm until level 27, and then I decide it's time to move on. I go interact with this thing that I thought was just an item on the ground to be picked up, and I get this little visual, I assume showing me where to go. I don't think this was needed by any means, but sure. I keep heading deeper through the temple and run into this level 42 beast of a cute little puffball. I'm not gonna mess with him yet. I'll have to one day return to fight the Miracle Totem. There's some really good mobs to fight here though. I remember these roar thingies dropping some good stuff, and I almost immediately get a Krista drop I can install into my gear from them. And these Stone Guardians are good to fight because you can just dodge all of their skill shot damage and stay full HP, and theoretically grind them infinitely. It's actually pretty crazy how much I just intuitively remember from the feelings that this game brought to my severely underdeveloped brain over 10 years ago. Whew, I'm really glad I did all of that goblin grinding before, because it's only prepared me for what was about to come. When I enter Temple Area 3, there's a woman being attacked by a group of goblins, and I choose to back her up, but apparently you can just ignore her, but maybe that just won't progress the storyline. Either way, it's a funny option they quasi give you. After saving her, she just gives me a list of monsters to go defeat, which I'm honestly really excited to go do. I go slay a ton of monsters for her and then head back to the Temple Protector, but she won't stop talking about how that's what she's here to do. Continuing forward, we reach a Great Warrior's statue, and some strange Plague Mask adjacent type fellas come in, claiming they need to get the temple's crystal to defend the world against some big scary dragon. And then the same big scary dragon that attacked the tutorial camp shows up, once again reminding us of this goal, and it summons a Minotaur x Machamp hybrid who might fuck us up. Okay, but while all of this is happening, the music is the most chill, lo-fi, whimsical shit possible, which is really throwing off any feeling of this being a serious situation. Once the fight starts, the music and vibes change, but it's way too late for that. But this fight was insane for a lot of reasons. Firstly, I was constantly disconnecting throughout the fight, which I'm almost sure wasn't on my end and was just the game servers. My NPC teammate was constantly dying, and I lagged into and just got lazily smacked by way too many attacks. I ended up popping a total health potion, increasing my HP by around 60% into the fight, but it was way too late, and that would have been super helpful to just pop from the beginning. And then I finally remember and notice the break mechanic during this fight. If the boss gets a little clearish hexagon over top of them, if you actively click on it, it seems to quote unquote break the boss, which I assume means an armor reduction or something similar. I should have been abusing this the whole time for sure, and knowing this in the future will add a lot more engagement to the already shockingly engaging boss fights. At this point, I am really deeply, thoroughly enjoying myself. But this part is also peak nostalgia for me. So, is it really a fair judge? I deeply debated whether or not to sit here and grind goblins for a few hours, but I'm gonna head back to the town first, talk to the garden lady, and go check on that skill buying thing to hopefully get some AoE more focused move, and then I'll be able to come back and farm to my heart's delight. Toram seems to only let you travel back to the main town for free, but not back to grinding locations, which I really like. So much so that I feel like other games should adopt this strategy. It's a perfect medium to enable convenience, but still allowing for some forced world exploration and balancing. Also, you can run in towns. I don't know what my silly self was trying to do earlier. But anyways, I end that quest and start the next, and apparently the garden lady says it's time to kill a dragon already. And I feel like what's gonna happen is I'm gonna travel to fight the quote-unquote dragon, and then it's going to just run off, and I only fight a small baby or some sort of smaller mob. I don't think I'm dragon ready yet. But who cares about that? For now, let's go get an AoE skill and go brain dead farm like we all want to. I know that's what we're all here for anyway. We're MMO players. So I stumble around until I find the library, which is where I need to talk to Lululia to buy some skills. And I don't have nearly enough spina for more knuckle skills. But I also haven't really sold anything off. I'm still sitting on most of my loot from the entire game so far, so surely I have enough for 750 more spina. On the way to the general store, I pick up a ton of fetch quests from NPCs that I absolutely should have picked up about 20 levels ago, but better late than never. And then selling stuff to the shops is super slow. You have to sell each item one by one unless it's a stack of something, and there are so many different types of resources to offload to the shop. Hey, this is actually post-recording and post-editing RetroPat. I played Toram Online for a while after making this video, and I did find out you can actually click the little switch icon on the general store, and you can sell things in groups and in stacks and multi-select stacks of things to sell. So I was entirely wrong. Apologies, I wanted to come make that correction. I don't remember there being any sort of grand exchange or marketplace between players. I do remember it being worthwhile to sell certain stacks of metals and other materials between other players. And the way you would do that is just by advertising via text and spamming around the main town, but I'm not familiar enough with that at the moment and don't want to worry about it, so I just sell most everything in my inventory to the shop for a respectable 1200 total spina. Time to go buy those upgrades, and I think I found it. The skill that I was looking for, Earthbind, attacks enemies around you, shaking the ground, and has a chance to inflict stop on the targets. Don't know exactly what that is, but sure. Plus, it has a small amount of lifesteal on the ability to encourage more grinding. Let's grab this and head over to the goblins to test it out. Before heading out, I do check out some other non-combat skills, including smithing, alchemy, and taming. Unfortunately, I didn't know that the cost of them would raise as I bought the others, so I ended up not being able to afford taming, which easily would have been the coolest skill to get. Off to goblin farming I go. Well, this is it. This is unironically everything that I was working towards. Everything I was looking forward to reclaim a lost, nostalgic MMO memory. I bind the abilities, and I go in for the kill. And honestly, it's not quite as impactful as I had hoped. But I think that's kind of what I expected. So much of coming back to this game has been a pleasant surprise, but I know full well you can't recapture magical moments like this was for me in my gaming lifetime. All you can do is cherish and appreciate that you even had those moments to begin with. This video became way too long for a niche mobile MMO that I'm not sure anyone actually played except for me. So before I continue to irresponsibly bleed out more of my time, I'm gonna go grind goblins for a few hours and be at peace. Thank you all for making it to this point. If this video was entertaining, nostalgic, or a positive asset to your day in any way, that's all I can ever ask for. And I encourage you to take the time to go explore that game that you forgot about. Go trek through those old MMOs where you had that group of friends that hasn't logged in for 10 years. Sometimes it's just comforting to go back for a little. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you want to see your name listed here with a big thank you from me, check out this Patreon link down below. Thanks again, and I hope you have a wonderful day.